Dear friends, no matter what we call our company, our organization, our association, or simply our gathering tonight, what makes us keep coming back is the fun and social nature of this sport called pickleball. We delight in the madness, rejoice in our successes, and laugh out loud at our own mistakes in the frenzy of tournament or social play. Whatever this actually is, we continue to commend it to others domestically and internationally. We speak about it way too often, according to our non-playing spouse or work colleagues. And that same contagion is what has propelled the sport into new heights since last we met officially in May 2019. Legal matters. We are still sorting out technical and legal issues, including but not limited to the change from an incorporated association to a company limited by guarantee. We're struggling to get our legal name and our trading name to be the same. We're jumping through hoops with Fair Trade Australia, as well as Australian Institute of Sports, and helping the states to gain status as associations, all the while still getting out and having a hit or two or five each week. When the dust settles in 2020, we hope to have at least 4 states with legal status as incorporated associations, with commensurate local clubs feeding into the state. Each of the state associations should be endorsed by the national company. We're hoping to have our national company fully recognized by any and all world federations and national entities, along with their coaching companies and agencies. We're not on their side when it comes to the relationships between competing groups. Via Media is a national motto in the UK, and we in Australia have that as one of ours as well. That said, setting up the company has largely been the work of the Southeast Queensland contingent of our committee, and we seriously owe a major debt of gratitude to Jen Ramamurthy, Graham Barnes, and James Charlie. Tournaments. The noisy end of our sport is the competitions labeled as tournaments. Since May, we've seen a steady growth in this area, in local areas as well as state and nationally. Down in New South Wales, the local PCYC conducted a league in 2019 for a school term with great success in Hornsby, but without continuity. New South Wales ran a state open, and several from Queensland also participated and also won medals. Western Australia had its first state open last weekend at the North Shore Country Club with nearly 60 participants, and Victoria had theirs last month in Pearsdale. Participants are traveling more and more interstate, and that's good for the growth of the sport. The Nationals were held in October in Upper Mount Gravatt, Queensland, with 160 players, including some from the USA. Battle of the Border between New South Wales and Victoria launched an esprit de corps in each state, and as usually happens, between the states as well. This tournament is now on the agenda for 2020 due to its social and competitive successes. Queensland had the Brisbane Doubles tournament in 2019 and anticipates running both a Gold Coast tournament and a Queensland Open in 2020. I'm personally excited about the Nationals being held in Newcastle in October this year as a statement by the selection committee that endorses regional play. And it's also close enough that I can rally many locals to join in. Tony Morgan, who's been my right-hand man for as long as we've been playing, will do a bang-up job in leading this event and representing us to the state and nation. Local clubs. The real growth of the sport happens in each locality, from far north Queensland, where it likely began, to Adelaide, to Glenorchy. Each week we read about or get calls or emails from little gatherings in the Barossa or Sandy Bay, and we're delighted about each one. The Melbourne Sports Athletics Centre began playing pickleball in 2019, and each Wednesday saw a steady growth of players. Now they're playing other days besides the initial one day. The same thing happened in the northern beaches of Sydney, where the NBPC launched in 2019 with t-shirts and membership, and now they play at least 3 times a week in at least 2 different venues. Brisbane, Perth, Noosa, Gold Coast, there's no stopping the advance of this sport. We heard last week about Harvey Bay, and it's happening there, and now Bundaberg. Tamworth is on the move. So many places, so little time. Nick Cooper reports that this month has been over the top in sales of equipment, and Tony, who also sells retail products, has to keep ordering more and more. All this is a major indicator of the almost exponential advance. Local clubs are the main drivers of local communities' support of the sport, where the local member of the state parliament or federal is more visible and more active in helping the local sports scene to grow. Local councils are often amenable to our visiting them. Bridget McKenzie aside, local members and local companies are sure to be more responsive than large corporations. Going forward. Administration. Keeping track of players and communicating with each in a timely method has at best been random and haphazard and needs a national tracking system, database management software. Revolutionize would do us well in this regard. There are so many benefits to this company, but for our voluntary treasurers in national and state setup, Revolutionize would ease their pain drastically. Membership fees are tracked and renewed from the application. Seamless financial migration of money from local club to state to national would make everyone's job that much easier. Secretaries and those who maintain databases will find the features wonderfully easy and helpful to their work. Insurance. As our numbers grow and local clubs join states and states join national, the sensible insuring of each member is required. Marsh has been our insurer for a couple years for PAA, and PANSW hired Marsh in 2019. By nationalizing the insurance, the per-person cost will drop significantly, and it will also give cause for local clubs and states to keep up membership. There are thresholds of lower costs at 500 and at 1,000 members. I hope that by the end of year 2020, we will be at 1,000 members. Sponsorships. There are dozens of companies out there which might be open to sponsor the national company or state associations, but we don't have a marketing strategy in place at this point. I hope by year's end that we will have identified our players with this formidable strength and given them the wherewithal to accomplish the development of this strategy, and we will have begun to make serious strides to gain national and state sponsorships of significance. Coaching. For the last 2 years, Seymour Rifkind of the IPTPA and WPF has been visiting Australia and developing coaching standards. At least 20 of our players have achieved Level 1 coaching certification. There are others internationally who would do well to visit our land and help us in this regard as well. We are not locked into any one method of coaching, as Ben Hocking and Jane De Silva in Perth and others in Victoria are using other road-tested skills of play. There's talk among us of a separate company or franchising of coaching, but nothing is fixed as yet. It won't hurt us to keep this in discussion and to welcome all who want to help us grow and develop our standards to match and perhaps to surpass those of other countries. Relationships with other countries. When Jan Poppy from Pickleball Global began marketing his company and software, many of us took it as welcome relief from inventing the wheel tournament running. Brisbane, Sydney, and Perth have all used Pickleball Global with ease and success. Now Jan, who lives in Florida, is hoping we will join in with a South Pacific or Trans-Asia plan to play international games with Japan, India, and all the countries in between. That's to be considered and obviously encouraged at each player's discretion. As a corollary to that development is the idea of a national ranking system, which Pickleball Global would afford us. Each tournament's results would be logged into their software, and we would know who our top players in each age or open division are. That could be significant in terms of our own tournaments as well as in marketing to sponsors. This should be something we move toward by year's end. Tournaments. There's no end to monthly or even semi-monthly tournament activity. We have a growing database of keen players who enjoy traveling and playing this madness. I want to suggest that each state conducts at least 2 tournaments each year. One would be an open tournament, as we have been conducting the last couple years. The other would be a closed event to members of local clubs in that state who would vie for state championship medals and the right to represent their state in the nationals. The nationals, then, would therefore need to be closed as well to members of states. We would also have an Australian Open, which would allow for visitors from other countries, and we would do well to market that as such. Bob White from WA and I represented Australia at the inaugural Scottish Open last year, and we were among 150 contestants from 15 countries. To be sure, we were the ones who traveled the furthest. This 2-tiered system would allow for and encourage local clubs and states to get serious rankings, and as such, the previous idea with Pickleball Global may be a mandate. The work of national representation should be increased, and I'm willing to put my hand up to keep this good work going into 2020 and throughout this decade. Yours faithfully, Bob Mendelson, President.